Welcome to the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. 6 questions in less than 9 minutes because leaders know how to be concise. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. First question, in a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm Ken Bado. I'm the CEO of GMB Consulting. And what I've really done is taken my 30 plus years of senior leadership and turnaround and applying that to help typically CEOs in high tech. And I've been in technology since computers were made of wood. A lot of times CEOs and early stage companies are very bright. They're technology oriented, but they're struggling with bringing the product to market or scaling. And what happens oftentimes is they end up firing their vice president of sales and or marketing every 18 months or 12 months. So there obviously there's an issue there, but they're not quite sure what that is. And we help them understand it's maybe the people, perhaps, but maybe it's the approach they're taking to go to market. So I advise CEOs and oftentimes sit on their boards and advise them as they try to so-called cross the chasm.
Fantastic. Experience is always appreciated. Question number 2, what's the best thing about working with a team?
With the right team, it is tremendous. And it's, I'm going to quote it. Stephen M.R. Covey was a friend of mine, and we worked together on a few projects. And he had this book called The Speed of Trust. And with trust, if you're in a team where there's trust, conversations are easy and things get done. And I think that's probably the most paramount point of working with a team. There's trust, there's diversity of opinion, perspective, of background. But if the team feels that they can contribute, they're not going to be ridiculed, they're welcome. And the solution is not me-based, but more of a servant leader-based. We're going to come to the right conclusion together. That to me is a ball. And that's probably the most fun I've had in business, is working with great teams.
Love that. Thank you. Question number 3. I hear from other leaders of teams that getting team members engaged can be a challenge. What are your thoughts?
Well, again, it gets back to trust, and I've seen situations where team members don't feel engaged because they don't feel appreciated or respected. They bring an idea, they do something, or in fact, they're asked to do a task, and then that task is discounted. They say, well, thanks for doing that, but it really doesn't matter. So the trust part is probably the most important part of that. The other part of it too, I think, is really important is selection. You've probably heard the expression that past behavior will indicate future performance. So when we're hiring new people, it's important we do a really detailed behavioral interview and understanding how they dealt with certain situations, how they acted with their boss, how they interacted with their peers, how they interacted with their employees. And sometimes there's inconsistency, and that's not a good thing. So we look at that. The other side is you promote people. And promoting people, it's really important to test them to see, can they multitask? You say they're doing a job, and you say, by the way, I need you to do this task. They say, and still do my other job? And the answer is yes. Because I think we all know the higher up you go, being able to prioritize and get things done is a challenge. So again, getting the right people on the team and that trust is so important. And when I say trust, I mean 2 things. One is they're trustworthy, which is important. But in the business environment, they get things done. And, we've seen people that are trustworthy and they have a hard time getting things done. Conversely, you have people that get things done, but maybe not so trustworthy. And that's another set of issues. So
great insight.
Engagement is important, and trust is the basis of that.
Love that. Thank you. Question number 4. What other successful team leaders, such as yourself, should be on my podcast?
Well, through my career, I've had some really great people. One was the woman that hired me actually at Autodesk, was a woman named Carol Bartz. Carol, at the time, was sort of a novelty as a CEO in a high-tech company. And she's bright as heck and really knows about working with the team and leveraging that team and getting the best from all the players of that team. The other side, I think, is really looking at is reading a lot. And this is an old book, but I sort of mentioned the Covey name a few minutes ago, but Stephen Covey's 7 Habits are really applicable today as much as they always were. And I think if you can get a team along that, buying into that methodology, seeking first to understand, then to be understood, win-win, first things first, those kind of things. I suggest even though it's probably 30 years old now,
Yeah,
people read that book.
that's a great suggestion. Great suggestion. Thank you. Question number 5. What piece of advice would you give to other leaders of teams?
I think you have to be a servant leader. And when I say that, what I mean is, even though you're the leader of the team, unless you're empathetic or understanding of the people on that team and the things that are important to them, and is understand that they feel heard, and not just repeat, not just the words they say, but this is the soft part, but the emotions they feel. Somebody could say something, you say, "Oh," and you didn't hear what I said. And you repeat back what they said. And they go, "You still didn't hear what I said," because you haven't acknowledged the emotion part of what's going on. So I think that took me some time to understand that, but I think it's important to understand not just the words that people are saying, but the emotion behind what they're saying. They want to be acknowledged.
Very important. Great. Thank you. Final question. Tell us about your first job.
Well, someone asked me about that the other day. I'm a chair of a charity in St. Petersburg, Florida. It's probably the largest community-based aphasia center in America. And they were asking questions of me as the chairman. What was your first job? And I worked at McDonald's. I mean, before that, I delivered papers and shoveled snow and cut grass. But that was my first W-2 job. And I learned 2 things. I learned how to mop a floor, and which is I still use today. And I also learned that time to lean means time to clean. So you think you're off time, there's always something to do. So get after it.
Great insights. I love that. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. How can people find you?
Well, it's pretty easy. It's Ken Bado, ken.bado at gmbllc.net, or they can call my cell. Easy, 214-662-6112, 214-662-6112.
Fantastic. Well, this is Sean Richards with the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. You can find more ideas by going to our LinkedIn posts as well as to our website at Blue Sky Business Consulting.